Climate change is no longer a distant threat, but an immediate crisis. One of the main culprits is an industry we encounter daily: factory farming. Yes, you heard it right. The steaks on our plates and the burgers in our hands have a much larger footprint than we ever imagined. The urgency of climate change is undeniable, and it's high time we turn our attention to some of the leading contributors. Among these, factory farming stands out starkly. This industry, which seems so innocuous as it delivers our daily meat, milk and eggs, is in fact a major player in the global emissions game. Research indicates that factory farming is responsible for at least 11% of global emissions. That's right, over a tenth of the world's greenhouse gases are attributed to this one industry. But the scale of the issue doesn't stop there. When we dive deeper into the numbers, the magnitude of the problem becomes even more evident. 70% of animals reared for food are held in factory farm systems. Imagine that. 7 out of 10 animals we consume come from these emission-heavy systems. These animals, living in confined spaces, produce massive amounts of methane, a greenhouse gas much more potent than carbon dioxide. This, along with the deforestation for grazing lands and feed crops, contributes significantly to our warming planet. But it's not just the environment that's at stake. Our health, our economies, and our very way of life are all under threat. We're facing a future of more frequent and more severe weather events, of rising sea levels and devastating droughts. The time to address this issue is now, as the planet's survival hangs in the balance. We can no longer afford to ignore the elephant in the room, or rather, the cow in the factory farm. The question is, are we ready to make the necessary changes before it's too late? To combat this crisis, nations are being urged to curb factory farming in order to meet climate goals. This call isn't just a plea from environmentalists, but a call to action from some of the world's leading nations. The United Arab Emirates, for instance, has put forth a Leaders' Declaration proposal. This declaration aims to align food production with emissions goals, a crucial step in mitigating the impact of climate change. But the call doesn't stop there. There's a growing consensus that more drastic measures are needed. One such proposal is a 10-year moratorium on new factory farms. This would not only halt the expansion of an industry that contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions, but it would also create space for alternative, more sustainable methods of food production to flourish. And what about the money that currently goes into supporting factory farming? The suggestion is to redirect these subsidies towards more sustainable livestock and plant-based food production. By shifting the financial incentives, we can encourage a move away from factory farming and towards methods of food production that are less damaging to our planet. Speaking of damage, let's talk numbers. Food systems contribute about a third of global greenhouse gas emissions. That's a staggering figure. But it becomes even more alarming when we break it down further. Animal agriculture alone is responsible for a fifth of these emissions. These statistics underline the urgent need for change in our food production systems. The call for action is clear, but will nations heed the warning and take the necessary steps? The answer to that question could very well determine the future of our planet. The impact of factory farming isn't just environmental, it's financial as well. Extreme weather events intensified by climate change can wreak havoc on economies worldwide. These events are, in part, linked to factory farming, a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. Costs incurred from such calamities can be staggering, straining economies to their breaking point. In the upcoming COP28, the spotlight shines on the role of food production in climate change. It's a pertinent issue that's been long overdue for global attention. The conference will explore the nexus between our diets, the environment, and the world economy. It's a complex web of interdependencies that we can't afford to ignore any longer. There's also a push for banks to be more transparent about the climate impact of their business. This proposal underscores the necessity of acknowledging and addressing the financial implications of climate change in every sector. As we look towards the future, the intersection of the environment, economy, and food production will become increasingly important. The choices we make now will define our future.